Okay, so today we're going to be working on some ombre looks using acrylic and gel. So I've go ahead and pre-tipped my mannequin hand and shaped it. And today I'm going to be using Princesa by Valentino, Soft Touch by Valentino. I'm going to be using this purple glitter from Kiara Sky Villain. And then this colored acrylic by Valentino as well. So let's start by putting some nail prep. Always using nail prep to completely dehydrate the nail. And then going ahead with some primer using Mia Secret Chiffon. So the first thing that I'm going to do is the pink and white. I want to show you a couple different variations of how to do pink and white, and also how to do ombre with colored acrylic as well. So let's start with the pink and white. So how I do my ombre is I always start with the white first. Get all this ready. I'm going to start by just taking a little bit of a white acrylic. And you want kind of a white bead for this, a wet bead, excuse me. And I'm going to blend in the area where they're going to meet and leave most of the bulk towards the end. You want it very thin, because remember, we're also going to cap these off. You have to cap it off and clear in order to file. So you want to make sure that it's super thin. That's all you need. I'm going to repeat that on this nail. Flush this in right here, very wet bead. And leave most of the bulk towards the end. When you cap off and clear, you can always build your nail up, build the apex, build everything with that last step, as opposed to building and building and building, and then you have this really, really, really thick nail. You don't want that. Okay, so now I'm gonna go with pink. And what I like to do is just take a little bit, start by the cuticle. Get that nice and flush and just blend that in. I want the first one to meet the second one. And I take with the second bead, I'm going to place it right where these two colors meet. And with the wet bead, I'm going to press down with the belly of my brush and just smooth it out. If this was a shorter nail, sometimes I'll even wipe this off. Let's make sure this stays nice and white. And just blend that in. I'll go ahead with another bead by the cuticle to make sure that's built up. And perfect. We don't want to see any lines. We don't want to see anywhere where the two lines meet. I'll repeat that on this nail. By the cuticle. Blending it down. Second bead right over that line. Feel like you're getting color on the end, wipe it away. Another one, still see the line. Small bead right where that line meets. Blend that in. I'm still working with kind of wet beads. We still want it thin. Okay, so those are the two ombre nails. So let's take a look at this nail now. Let's take a look at the thumb. And then for this one, I'm going to repeat that same thing. Same process if you have color. The only difference is sometimes you might want to test and make sure that the nude that you're using is going to cover the colors. So lighter nudes won't really cover dark colored acrylic. So you're going to find yourself having this line that you can't get rid of. So you want to make sure that they can blend into each other. So let's start off with the little purple on the street edge. Blend that in. Colors are very pigmented and you really want to blend in that color where the line's going to meet because you really can see it with the colors. I'll put most of my color on the tip and I'll even blend it back this way. Kind of blot this so it disappears a little bit. Let's get a little bit here. Okay, so I'm gonna go on with that thing. Only this time is I'm gonna start right where that line meets. I'm gonna take my bead, place it right where that line meets, pat it down, and blend it this way. I'm gonna start opposite because I want to make sure that line covers. That line is covered. Second bead by the cuticle. And now I can just place it anywhere that I see fit. A nice wet bead. Third bead is going to be again over this line, and this time it's going to look heavy. I'm going to just blot it just to make sure this is fully covered. And what I'll do is again just wipe it, make sure we see that color. And let it disappear. And anywhere you see fit, you can just do a little patchwork. If you feel like you want it to really hit a certain area, I'm going to place my bead on there. Give it a second. Let it start to set up. And then just teeter it off. Because if you go on with a wet bead when you're patching, it's just going to disappear. And you're going to keep building and building and building over the same thing. So again, I'm going to place this bead right here. Let it hang out for a second. Then with a wet bead, I'm just going to pat it where I need it to be and blend that in. Still making sure I'm covering that line. And again, these are all very wet beads, so you don't see any of the bulk in the nail. And let's say for some reason I still want it a little bit more purple, and go back in. Just put a little purple on the edge and blend that back. And with a wet bead, just get rid of that. Come down. Okay, so let's say in a different scenario, we wanted to add a little bit of glitter. So we would do the ombre first, and then just to do a little bit of a glitter fade, I'll take a little bit of glitter, pick it up, and I'll place it where I need it to be. And with the wet bead, just kind of brush it back. When it comes to working with straight glitter, if you're using glitter acrylic, it's a little different. When using straight glitter, the beauty is you can kind of place it where you want to. So remember, with a fade, we want it kind of heavy on the tip, and lingering off on the bottom. Once I have that where I need it. So I'm gonna go back and place the bulk of it on the tip. And just use my brush to kind of scatter it. We want it to be heavy. I can even push it kind of with a very wet bead. Push them before they start to set up. So I have the lingers. Remember, I want it to fade. And if you want it like a bigger piece in a certain area, you can always pick something up and just place it where I need it to be. Okay. Go in with clear. I'm using Young Nails clear. Is cap everything off. So when we're capping off, get rid of this. We don't want anything to transfer onto the clean nail. When we're capping, I'm going to take a nice big wet bead. So I'll some air bubbles. Nice big wet bead. I'm going to place it right here on a very wet brush. I'm just going to move it all the way down. I just want to make sure we have coverage of the nail. These little pieces of glitter. I usually do about 2 beads, one in the beginning and the second to finish it off. Make sure these 2 beads are blended. Okay, now I can cap this one. Same concept. Very wet bead. Let the hand hold the fingers downward. Make sure we fully cover this nail. And then I'm going to cap this one as well. Because remember, most of this is going to get filed off anyway. That's why we do it, to just protect the design. And because we're doing a bunch of layers, if it ends up getting a little thicker than you care for, don't even worry about it. Okay. You can always reshape the nail, that's not a big deal. Okay, so then we're gonna move on to the other 2 nails. We'll be doing the gel. All right, so for these 2 nails, I'm gonna do a pink and white and a colored acrylic ombre using hard gel. So for this, I'm gonna be using Young Nails Concealer Blush, Clear Sculptor, white. I have my base gel, and I'm gonna be using a purple color by Beetles. So first thing we always wanna do with gel is start with a thin layer of base. I'm gonna go ahead with my base. I use a flat brush when I'm doing a base layer. I feel like it goes on better. I'm gonna take a very thin amount, very small amount, and do a nice thin layer on the whole nail. Very thin. We don't need anything, no bulk. that's done, I'm gonna go ahead and cure that in my UV light for 1 minute. Okay, once that's cured, I'm gonna go with my white. For this, I have the pot. I'm not using the tube for the white. So I'm gonna take a little bit of this white. And it's the same concept as when we're doing acrylic. I'm gonna take a very small amount and just work this bead on the whole nail. Okay. So remember, when you're working with gel, you want to float it. So I have it all controlled on the tip of my brush. I'm floating it from one side to the next. The thing about gel is that, for me anyway, I learned that if you, let's just get the product on, and it files so nice that it doesn't even matter if it's a little thicker. You can kind of deal with that when you're filing. So once that's on, the same thing I did with the acrylic, I'm just gonna take my brush and I'm just gonna kind of fade that line out. I don't want it to be so bold. So once I have that, I'm gonna go ahead and cure that in the lamp for 60 seconds. Okay, now I'm gonna go in with my blush from the tube. I'm gonna take a small amount and place it right here. Once again, I like working with the brush to apply, but I like to use my actual brush to move my gel around. I don't really like the tubes. For me, anyway, the tube is a little big. I have more control with my brush. So I'm gonna float this bead by the cuticle. Float it to both sides. Just working it from one side to the next. Bringing it down. And once I come over that line, wipe my brush, and I'm just going to fade it out. Very this, if it's even thinner, we can go ahead and you don't really have to worry about it covering, because it's still not covering the white. I'm gonna put a little bit more right here, just so I can cover that line. Again, I only want it here. I'm only gonna float it in this area. And just teeter it off. If you feel like you got too much on the end, you can always take your brush, clean it, and just like we did with the acrylic, again, just wipe that away. Wipe off my brush, and again, just get rid of that line. I'm going to go ahead and cure that for another 60 seconds. Okay, so this nail looks okay. I mean, what I want to do is I'm actually going to add a little bit more. I couldn't do it before because it was still wet. So after I cure it, I can go back in just to make sure that line is a little more invisible. What I'm gonna do is float it to the left and to the right. wipe my brush off, and this time I'm going to teeter it back to get rid of that line that I created. Wipe my brush off and lightly feather it this way. It's a little bit better to me. I'm going to go ahead and cure that now for another 30 seconds. Okay, so now that that's settled, before I cap it and clear, I'm going to move on to this nail. So what I like to do sometimes, let's say you have a customer that wants a certain color and you only have the base colors in gel. What you can do is in an empty dish, I'm going to use my base and I'm going to use my purple gel polish. Take a little bit of base gel. This is how we can make a custom color. I need a little bit, I'm only doing the edge. A little bit of this base. I'm going to add a couple drops of the color. Make sure it's mixed together well. Right next to it, I'm going to add a little bit of this gel. And then what I'll do, let's just mix these two together. You can tell when you're mixing it, when you see it, it should start to take on the consistency that regular gel has. It shouldn't be runny like gel polish and your ratio is off. You want a little bit more base than color. You want just enough color that it's pigmented and it's not going to lighten it up. So right now this is good. It's still consistency of the base, so that's good. So once that's done, I'm gonna go back to my nail and the same concept, I'm gonna start on the edge, scooping a little bit up, and I'm gonna kind of float this product on. So remember it's base, so it's a little lighter than working with the white acrylic. So you're kind of floating still, but not so much. It's still a little painting kind of strokes. And I'm gonna teeter that off. Get rid of that line. And now I'm gonna go ahead and cure that in the lamp for 60 seconds. Okay, once that's cured, I'm gonna go ahead, back with the blush, place a bead, and again, just float that product by the cuticle, to the left and right, same concept as before. You see, I'm just making small little circles back and forth. The only difference with gel, we all know if you work with gel, the process is different because you can't really rush gel. You kind of gotta work it. Whereas acrylic will kind of work for you. Gel, you have to direct it a little bit. So once I come over that line, I'm gonna go ahead and clean my brush off. And now I'm just gonna teeter this down. And so light-handed. It's like a nice feathering motion. The only difference is this time I don't really want any of that glitter to kind of stay on the end. Oh, actually it doesn't look too bad. I'll wipe some of it off. I want to see more of this color. And after I do that, I can just go back and barely teeter it. Okay, so now I'm going to cure that in my lamp for another 60 seconds. Now that these two are cured, I'm going to go with my clear. My brush is clean. I'm going to go on with my clear. I'm just going to put a pinch of clear. So in this case, I can kind of use the tube. Because what we want to do is just fully coat this. Like I said, gel files very nicely. So we just want to make sure this is fully covered. I'm going to encapsulate every inch of this. Make sure it's protected. If you notice any air bubbles, just try to work them out. Float it off to the end. Okay, I'm going to do the same for this nail. Remember, if it gets out of shape, doesn't matter. We will file it anyway. Oops. So I was a little heavy-handed with the gel, so I'm gonna go back in. I have an air bubble here. So I'm gonna push that air bubble to the end and get rid of any excess gel. Wipe my brush off and do the same with this. This one looks okay. Okay. I'm going to give that a final cure of 60 seconds for these two nails. Now that these are all done, I'm going to wipe the two gel nails with a little bit of alcohol or swipe, whatever product you're using. You want to remove that tacky layer. Or remove the nail. Now I can file and shape these. Now that everything's filed and buffed, I'm gonna go ahead with my top coat. I'm going to give the secure in the light for 60 seconds. Secure that. Add a little oil. Shine these nails up nice, and there we have it. Several different ways to do different types of ombre using customized colored acrylic, customized gel, regular acrylic, pink and white gel, glitter acrylic, and colored acrylic. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Bye.